Let's move for the next speaker. That is Dr. Sujita. And is from the Institute of Electrical Engineering Physics, Saarland University, Germany.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I would like to thank and appreciate Professor Bitkin, committee members, and all the organizers for their effort to organize an online conference in spite of the current pandemic. So, my name is Suchit Reddy Marakantam, and I come from the Institute of Electrical Engineering Physics, Saarland University, Germany. So my topic is about the simulation of interacting and non-interacting dipolar systems and their temperature dependencies. If we move on to the next, the overview of my presentation looks like this, where I introduce our system, the methodology, and the physical model which we have used for obtaining the results, and the method of images, and also the local fields calculation. And the next important thing is the simulation method. We use dynamic Monte Carlo simulation. And next I'll show you the results of our investigations, and then I'll finally conclude. So the aim, what is the aim of our research? We would like to calculate the transient polarization responses in the dielectric systems, that is under the influence of dipolar interactions. And for this, we have considered two systems, two different types of systems. One is a system with fixed dipole lengths, and with fixed dipole lengths, we have a single barrier height. And the other are the systems with distributed dipole lengths, and with distribution of dipole lengths, we have distribution of the barrier heights. And in this, we consider two dipole densities. And the model and the method we use are double well potential model, and we consider the method of images in order to inherently consider the conducting electrodes into our calculations, and also to calculate the local fields, microscopic local fields, to perform the Monte Carlo simulation. If you see the, okay, now as we know, modeling and simulation has become a new normal to investigate the material properties, and due to the advancements into the computational resources. And in our work, we use of double well potential model to describe the dielectric systems. And here we investigate both the interactive and the non-interactive systems. I'll present what I mean by interacting and non-interactive systems in the next slides. So we make use of the Monte Carlo simulation method, which basically combines the deterministic calculation of the local fields and also the random variable. Next is the system model. Here we could see the two-dimensional representation of a sample, but in fact we make use of a three-dimensional system in all our calculations. Just to represent, I have shown you a 2D representation, and here we can see all the dipoles, the red colored are the dipoles. They are statistically distributed in the space between two parallel plate electrodes. So basically we are dealing with a capacitor structure, and this dipole is described by a double well potential model. In this double well potential, they fluctuate due to the thermal activation. So this double well potential has the characteristics of, if you see the distance between the wells, you see here, the distance between the wells is nothing but the dipole length, and the barrier height. The barrier heights are, we assume that they are proportional to the dipole lengths, because we have deduced this in our calculations of the aluminum oxide, that they are proportional. The barrier heights and the dipole lengths are proportional. So we have used a similar observation, and we have applied that barrier heights are proportional to the dipole lengths. And then we could see here the asymmetry, which is induced by the local fields. So we start with the symmetrical double well potentials in our calculations, and then due to the presence of local fields and also due to the dipolar interactions, the symmetrical double wells are distorted and then transformed into the asymmetrical double well potentials. We see that the dipoles can orient in one or the other direction, which is anti-parallel direction, but they cannot freely rotate, but they can only take one of the two orientations. So for this, we have to calculate the transition probabilities, which can be seen here. In calculating the transition probabilities, where the dipole flips from orientation 1 to 2 or 2 to 1, we use this formula where minus and plus sign distinguishes the orientation if the dipole is in the field direction or in the opposite direction. And we could, we could see here that the barrier height, which we have used as an input, will be changed by the local fields. By the presence of local fields, the barrier heights are changed and the overall transition probabilities are changed. So here the parameters are basically the Boltzmann constant and the phonon frequencies are used in calculating the transition probabilities. Next, the method of images and the local fields. In our calculations, here, if you could see, here is the original sample. Within the sample, the dipoles are present. And in order to consider the electrodes, we make use of method of images, whereby the dipoles are reflected on both the left and the right electrodes. So first, original dipole produces first set of images and first set produces second set of images and so on. So in this way, the images, the dipoles are extended. The sample is extended virtually, and we have calculated and observed that up to 300 images are sufficient for our calculations. Beyond 300 images, it doesn't make any difference in the potential calculations. And so with this method of images, we calculate the local fields at each and every dipole. So in order to calculate the local field at a particular dipole J, we have to add the applied field to the all other dipolar interactions. These dipolar fields comes from all other dipoles and also the images. Next, we move on to the actual Monte Carlo simulation method, which we employ to get the transient polarization response. So at first, for a given applied field and the temperature, we start with a randomly distributed dipoles configuration. And because of this statistically distributed dipole configuration, we have a near zero polarization state. And then for this configuration, we calculate the local fields. And from the local, after calculating the local fields, we compute the transition probabilities. Here we could see that local fields comes into account. And after calculating the transition probability, we calculate the flip times for every dipole. And in the flip time, the transition probabilities comes, and also a deterministic, this is a deterministic transition probability, and a probabilistic random variable comes into effect. Then out of all the flip times, only the dipole with the shortest flip time makes its flip in present Monte Carlo step. Then this flip time is added to the system time. And then at this present state, we calculate the polarization. Of course, the polarization is computed as the sum of the dipole moments, effective dipole moments over the total volume of the sample. And if the maximum number of steps or the maximum system time is reached, which is predefined. So if it is reached, then the simulation stops, or else it will proceed to the next step. I mean, it repeats. So in this way, we calculate the polarization responses. So as I said, the transient polarization responses for a step applied field are calculated using the above mentioned Monte Carlo simulation method. And all the responses are determined for interacting and non-interacting systems. So these interacting and non-interacting systems are distinguished by their local fields, such that for a non-interacting system, the dipoles respond freely, that independently, only under the influence of applied field. So for a non-interacting system, dipoles doesn't interact with each other. They only respond with the field application. So local field is nothing but only the applied field. Whereas for interacting system, local field has applied field and all other dipolar interactions. Next, the transient polarization responses which we obtain is like noisy data. So in order to smooth the response, we average over several runs to get a smoother response. And this response, we use the stretched exponential fit function to fit the simulation data. So this is the Kohlrausch or the stretched exponential fit function. Here we see this is the polarization response, transient polarization response, and this is the final value of the polarization. And here comes the time, and this is the time constant of the system. And kappa is a very important parameter which describes the stretching behavior of the system. If we can see here, kappa equal to 1 corresponds to a Debye response, which can be obtained for a single relaxation time system with under no interaction. And if kappa value is less than 1, then it produces a stretched exponential response. The lower the kappa, the more is the stretching behavior. Next, we calculate the frequency domain responses as well. For this, we compute the polarization currents, which are obtained by the time derivative of the polarization responses. And these polarization currents are transformed into the frequency domain using a program that involves Fourier transformation. Basically, the polarization currents are assumed to be consisting of a series of exponential currents with different weights and time constants. And these currents are transformed into a series of individual processes in the frequency domain, which upon superposition yields the susceptibilities. And because we know the time constants and the weights of the processes, individual processes, we can obtain real and the imaginary parts of the susceptibilities. And also we calculate the temperature dependencies, that the relaxation times of the systems are extracted from the polarization responses for a very broad range of temperatures. And these are plotted, the relaxation times are plotted against the temperature to observe what kind of behavior they exhibit, either the Vogel-Fulcher law or the Arrhenius law. So as I said, we have observed the Arrhenius behavior for all the non-interacting systems, which is used, this function is used for all the non-interacting systems, whereas interacting systems followed a Vogel-Fulcher law. Here all this TVF is the Vogel-Fulcher temperature, and W naught dash and tau naught dash are all the Fick parameters. Next, I enter into the results section. First, I present the fixed dipole length system, the time domain result. Here we could see the non-interacting versus the interacting system. These are completely here. We are dealing with a fixed dipole length system where it has only a single barrier height. So the response for a non-interacting is purely a Debye response, which can be seen by the Fick parameter. Kappa is 1, whereas with interaction, the response is stretched and the kappa is given by 0.59. The same, the polarization responses upon derivative gives the polarization currents. We could see the red matching is a non-interaction phase and the black is the interacting phase. And we can see that this follows with the interaction, it has followed a stretched exponential behavior, whereas non-interaction could be seen as a single exponential response. Also, we have made a field-dependent results as well. So here on the left side, we could see the non-interacting systems for two different fields. One is the polarization response, other is the depolarization response when the field is switched off. Here at a higher applied field, we could see there is a difference between the switching rates. The green color represents the polarization response, which is faster compared to the depolarization response. This is due to the asymmetry of the double well system. Due to the applied field, the double well systems are distorted and makes the transition very faster. Whereas if we look at the interacting systems, these responses, both the polarizing and the depolarizing responses are governed by or ruled by the dipolar fields. Thereby we could see, even though the field is switched off, we have got a similar response. But however, the final responses are differed. This could be due to the dipoles which are remaining, which are rejected to revert back to the equilibrium state. Also, we have made the similar responses for different applied fields, and we have seen the typical behavior for the non-interacting case is the red curve and the black is the interacting case. And for a lower applied fields up to 1 megavolt per centimeter, we have observed a fairly linear behavior, whereas above it has reached a saturation value. And this linear behavior lets us use the transformation for transforming into from time domain into the frequency domain. Next, we'll look at the frequency domain results. Here the transient polarization response are transformed so that we obtain the real and imaginary parts of the susceptibilities. We could see no interaction and the interacting case results, where interacting case is stretched behavior. And also here in the imaginary part, we could see the response of the interacting system is slowed down. So it has moved to the lower frequencies. And see, this data is used to plot a Kolkul plots. And we could notice here, there is a perfect semicircle for no interaction case, whereas an asymmetrical response is produced for the interacting case. The next set of results are using the distributed dipole lengths. Here we could see these are the input parameters which I have used. The dipole lengths are around 3.5 angstroms, distributed around 3.5 angstroms, and the barrier heights are distributed around 0.7 electron volts. The applied fields and the temperature is given here. And we could notice without interaction and with interaction, they both are stretched already due to the distribution of the dipole lengths and obviously the distribution of the barrier heights. They both exhibit a stretched behavior. And also we could see here from the kappa value, the kappa value is 0.43 for no interaction and 0.36 for interacting case. This explains that with interaction, the stretching behavior is further broadened. The similar results of the time domain are transformed into the frequency domain, where we obtain the susceptibilities, and we could see the stretched behavior here. And also the loss is the imaginary part, the peak of the imaginary part is shifted due to the interaction. And here in the Kolkul plots, we could see unlike single dipole length system, we have both interacting and non-interacting systems. They are asymmetrical and skewed response. And this is due to the presence of more than one relaxation times. Next, we discuss about the temperature dependence of relaxation times. So here also we start with the fixed dipole length systems. These fixed dipoles have a single barrier height. And we could see here the green data points are the simulation data points for the no interaction case. And the black points are the simulated data for the interacting case. And we could use Arrhenius fit to exactly fit the no interaction case, whereas a Focal-Fulcher fit was used to fit the interacting data. And we could see here from the Arrhenius law, which is found for the no interacting case, the W0 dash obtained for the Arrhenius fit is 0.36, which is less than the input value of 0.4 electron volt. However, the free exponential factor remained the same as the input. Whereas for the interacting case, all these parameters have deviated significantly. Next, we discuss about the dipole system with the Gaussian distributed dipole lengths and the barrier heights. Even in this case, we could see without interaction, we have used Arrhenius fit, and when there is an interaction, we have used Focal-Fulcher law. But the red line serves as a guide, the deviation. And we could see the W0 dash is observed in the no interaction cases almost similar to the input value, whereas the W0 found in the interacting case here, the W0 is at the higher end of the input value we have used. And the Focal-Fulcher temperature has no physical relevance to the input values. And it must be noted that the difference in the relaxation times is reduced compared to the previous. For example, here we could see the deviation is the difference between the relaxation times is higher, whereas here the difference is smaller due to the distribution of the dipole lengths and the barrier heights. Next, the Gaussian distributed dipole length of the previous system, we have made the dipole density as double. Due to the increased dipole density, the interaction strength is increased. And we have noticed that due to this increased interaction, the deviation is stronger. So I would like to conclude my results that a Debye response was observed for all the non-interacting systems that have a single relaxation time, whereas the rest of all systems produced a stretched exponential behavior, though stretching behaviors vary depending on the interaction or the non-interaction, but they have produced a stretched behavior. And it could be noticed that the broadening of the dielectric response is observed not only due to the intrinsic distribution of the relaxation times, but also the interaction has brought about the stretched response. And the interaction has only increased the stretching behavior further. If you see at the temperature dependence results, we have noticed that Arrhenius law was found for the non-interacting systems, whether they are distributed or not. And VF law, Howell-Fulcher law is observed for interacting systems. And it was found that the deviation was stronger for the system with higher density, higher dipolar density. And because of this higher dipolar density, there is a higher interaction strength. And with this temperature dependence results, we could identify easily the interacting systems from the non-interacting systems. So I would like to thank German Research Foundation for funding our work. And thank you all for your attention.
Yes, Luis, thank you very much for your really interesting presentation. Now it's time for questions. I don't know if someone wants to do any question. Please feel free for questions.
I may ask, Joe.
Hi, Igor.
Hi.
Maybe from your modeling is possible to say anything about size dependence of the electric permittivity during phase transition.
Actually, this is interesting. We haven't observed like sample thickness dependent results yet.
Yes, for example, this is thickness or something. Yes.
Yeah.
Size dependence on the electric permittivity.
Yeah,
From modeling.
Yeah, the sample thickness, of course, plays a vital role because what we have observed in our previous simulations was if the sample size is too small,
Yes.
then the electrode effects are like stronger because the dipole, so the dipoles could couple to the electrodes because of the image charges.
Yes.
So, and if the sample size is large enough, then I think we could get a good thickness independent results. But we try to use a fairly large system so that the effect of electrodes is not influencing our results.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Igor, for your question. Okay, I think no one wants to do any more questions. Thank you again, Dr.
Thank you.
for your participation in our conference. We expect that next year we will be present here in Aveiro for...
Hope so.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope
you.
to see you again next year. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for organizing the conference.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.